All right, we're probably going to be stepping on some toes today. Trust me, it's not our intentions. But we do need to bring up the term balance because, my God, you can pull up so many forum posts, Reddit posts, Twitter posts on the term balance inside of Destiny 2. Everybody's got a solution, but balance really is a tough thing because there's so many variables at play. So first up, let's just rewind a little bit here. Back in 2017, the summer before launch of Destiny 2, we played the beta for the first time, and man, is Destiny 2 different. Not only do you not have special weapons available, but now you can rock 2 primaries, all with a TTK value above 1 second. Bungie also made everything 4v4. They also slowed down player movement. And the reason for all of this was for the sake of balance. Now, a lot of people blame the PvP community. They were like, hey man, y'all asked for this. You asked for more primary gunfights, which we did. But none of us expected a TTK value to go above 1 second, especially like 1.2. Hell, the average TTK value of most of the weapons in Destiny 1 was 0.8 to 0.9 seconds. On top of that, movement speed overall in Destiny 1 was much faster in D2, at least originally. This allowed for playmaking potential, but D2 was very watered down for the sake of balance that really didn't satisfy PvP players or PvE players. Now, as you know, the reception was terrible, which led to a multitude of updates over the next year all the way into Forsaken. We had the Go Fast update that finally gave us movement speed equivalent to what we had back in Destiny 1. We also had minor changes to TTK values until finally Bungie just threw the towel in and said, you know what, let's just revert everything back to TTK values similar to Destiny 1. But equally, the biggest change was giving us back our special weapons. We moved away from the double primary system, which was a big change for us. I mean, going to the double primary system alone was already a big change, but then going back to the old system, but with a slightly different special ammo economy, was a great change for many of us, but a change that I felt like many of us welcome. Now we're in Shadowkeep. The term balance is being brought up left and right, and it seems to be more emphasized this season than ever before. Frostbolt actually put together a Twitter post a few weeks ago. He said, talking about PvP balance with the community is hard. I always see Destiny as a game with different metas for different skill brackets and different platforms. While something can be an issue on one side of the skill bracket, it may not be on the other side. He went on to continue to say that on the lower end of the skill bracket, something like Jotun is an issue, while on the top tier players, Jotun is a joke and gets easily countered. Then take platforms into consideration, Jotun like fusions are more annoying on console than PC due to movement limitations. Honestly, what Frostbolt said is probably the best way to sum up the dilemmas that the Sandbox team over at Bungie has to face. You see, when we were at Bungie and we were discussing balance of certain items, it became apparent what was broken on one system wasn't necessarily broken on the other, aka something like Not Forgotten and Luna's Howl. Both of those weapons weren't necessarily meta on PC. They were decent, but there's a lot of hand cannons that can beat them out. Then when Bungie made the change and converted it from a 180 to a 150, as well as reworking the Magnificent Howl perk, this was obviously a nerf directed at console players. The result, Not Forgotten and Luna's Howl pretty much diminished to nothing on PC. You see it being used even now, every now and then, but not many people use it. A lot of people would just prefer Spare Rations, Awakened Vigil, an Ace of Spades, or a Thorn, and I would say the only reason why people use Not Forgotten or Luna's Howl this season is because it is currently bugged, which we did cover, in which the weapons can actually 3-tap at pretty decent ranges, but that's only because of a bug. It's nothing intentional, but that's the issues that Bungie faces. It's like whenever you go, hey, Lord of Wolves is broken, Bungie, they go and pull up the statistics on the weapon, and they see that yes, people on PC are wrecking other people, especially in something like high-level comp. I see people using Lord of Wolves, and it is so annoying to go against, especially if you're going against a team of Lord of Wolves. Even now, even after it's been nerfed. The problem is on console and with the controller, Lord of Wolves is much harder to control. So Bungie is constantly walking this tightrope between two different platforms in many various skill brackets. Now, balance has become a higher topic this season for one major reason, and that is because skill-based matchmaking. Now, I'm not entirely against skill-based matchmaking because my goal is for everyone to have a good gaming experience. I want everyone to enjoy getting inside of Crucible, learning, perfecting whatever it is they're trying to perfect, and especially in 6v6, I want people to enjoy fun loadouts. The problem with skill-based matchmaking is that now you have these issues of balance everywhere, which is very apparent to many top-tier players, but you start seeing more and more of those being exploited because those players are trying to beat each other. And it's kind of a double-edged sword because it's like, yeah, you go out there, you rock the sweatiest loadout you can possibly rock, You beat that other team that's super sweaty. Fun fact, you're now about to go against an even harder team. And this system continues, thus resulting in you never really realizing how much of a better player you are becoming. You're just consistently going up against stronger opponents, and team balance in general is pretty hit or miss. And like, I know a lot of people say, yo, Bungie, y'all need to rework team balance. Bungie's done that before. They actually had like almost perfect team balance back in Destiny 1, where the score was always 100 to 99 or 50 to 49. There was always barely a 1 kill deviation between the winner and the loser. And this resulted in everyone in the lobby having almost a 1 KD. And that was just simply because everything is so sweaty, man. And again, as things become more sweaty, people are pushed to use even sweatier loadouts, thus resulting in these outliers being very apparent in its brokenness. So what do? How should Bungie balance weapons and balance things in the game going forward? And should skill-based matchmaking remain in place? So first, let's talk about weapons. Bungie deciding when they should deal with weapons is normally after observing a large history of statistics that shows the usage of weapons. And normally that's how they hammer things down. It's like, okay, Recluse had 92% usage inside of the dungeon on week 1, therefore resulting in Recluse finally getting looked at. Lord of Wolves, they made the change where Lord of Wolves can proc its perk, release the wolves by simply holding the reload button, thus allowing for the weapon to become a better PvE weapon, as you're essentially doubling the DPS, but it made it absolutely broken for PvP. And even now, it's still broken. Mountaintop. Mountaintop takes everything that grenade launchers represent and scales it up times 10. Yes, I can go in there with the Norwing's Maul or Malicious Birthright and do pretty decently well with it, but Mountaintop has that instantaneous kill with great ease of use and sticky grenades. It's a potent weapon to go against, especially on PC. Errantil. I've been hearing about Errantils and how broken they are. I've seen the map. I've used some very god-rolled Errantils, and they are deadly, but more so on console. Because whenever I'm pre-charging and you slide yourself out there and you're whopping 30 frames per second, and you're 70-something field of view, I'm probably going to kill you before you can react. But again, on PC, most people can just whip themselves out of line of sight, resulting in you missing your shot and proceed to kill you. Ideally, just going over these examples right here, there's an issue with balance between PvE and PvP, console and PC, and of course the different various skill sets that players have. So which one should come first? In an ideal world, the balance between PvE and PvP honestly should be pretty simple. Bungie's been balancing things separately now for well over a year. If you take something like Release the Wolves on Lord of Wolves, yes, that was a very big bonus for Lord of Wolves inside of PvE. And by all means, guys, I like using nasty stuff in PvE. I like feeling like a boss in PvE. But that one change resulted in Lord of Wolves going from already a pretty decent weapon to an absolute monster. And we asked for the changes to come out to Lord of Wolves. I don't think we were necessarily asking for the range to be nerfed. We just wanted the change to be reverted. We wanted Release the Wolves to require a kill. Now, I know PvE players don't necessarily want that, but if you were to up the damage of Release the Wolves substantially so inside of PvE, which Bungie's already proven they can do. There's a reason why Rampage before hit harder inside of PvE and had a higher percentage than it did in PvP. Bungie can balance things separately, guys. I always see this debate spark where people are like, why don't they just separate the two? Fellas, they've separated the two now for a year and a half. Things have been separated, okay? It's going on currently. The only reason why things may not be separated is whether or not Bungie decides to separate it or not. Now, obviously, that takes more resources, takes more time, but PvE and PvP stats on many various perks have been separate from each other. In pre-Shadowkeep, Rampage, multi-kill clip, and kill clip, all of those things hit harder and had a higher percentage buff inside of PvE than in PvP. And for Lord of Wolves, increasing the damage of Release the Wolves overall for PvE, but requiring a kill to activate that trait was actually what we all wanted. And that's just one example. That's the PvE versus PvP debate. Long story is, those things have been separated for a long time now, and it's really up to Bungie if they want to separate those changes. But see, this actually leads into the platform issue. Console versus PC. How do we balance the two? Should we balance them separately? And honestly, in an ideal world, you would, but that would take a lot of resources. And if Bungie are already making strokes that would be effective in both PvP and PvE in one sandbox change, there is no way in hell they are about to separate sandboxes. So the idea that sandboxes are eventually going to be separated, or that's what Bungie should do, I can agree with, but it won't happen. Not in D2's lifetime, and maybe not ever. Which takes us to skill sets and how Bungie should be balancing things going forward. And this is what I want to offer. Bungie really should not balance things things based on its usage percentage, because that seems to be the only way Bungie will make a move on an item. Lord of Wolves was busted, but for a long time it was busted only in high level comp. Recluse has always been an issue, simply because the Master of Arms perk could activate from other weapon kills. Like honestly, Terrible, I like that SMG more in PvP, but because Terrible requires you to wield it the entire time, in order to gain the benefits of his exotic perk, you don't see it as much. Recluse though, it's very obvious what made it broken. And I was actually okay with the buff that you got from Recluse. Like I know a lot of people are like, yo man, there's no way in hell that body shot damage should match the precision damage. And where I do want to reward the players for landing their crits, quite frankly, it's still an SMG. As in, if you take the time to kill me with an SMG to proc Master of Arms on itself, not from other weapon kills, but on itself, then you deserve that buff. One-Eye Mask. We talked about One-Eye Mask and how we could potentially change this weapon. The biggest strength of it was really not its overshield, which is what's being nerfed. Instead, it's the tracking. And we talked about it last week. QJ and Dimitri both were talking with me, and they asked, why won't we just change the tracking similar to the tracking that Jade Rabbit gives? That red outline on targets. It doesn't allow you to wall hack. It just simply reveals the target when they are visually in sight. Long story short, there are a multitude of ways in which Bungie could patch things, but I think they're depending on statistics too much before finally making a move. As in, depending on One-Eye Mask usage to go up to 60-70% of all exotic usage for Titans in PvP, or Recluse usage going up to 90-something% inside of PvE, which kind of takes us to the whole skill set thing. Should Bungie rely on high skill players in order for them to make decisions on Sandbox? The answer to that is no. No. I know some of you are like, yes, you should. You should take the highest skill player out there and rely on them and the information they give in terms of what to change and what not to change in order to balance the game. And I'm here to say, no, you don't, Bungie. You don't. You don't take the highest skill player out there and base the game around them. Instead, when it comes to nerfing things or buffing things or just balancing things, Bungie, I really want you to just take a common sense approach. That's it. I've reviewed, man, almost every weapon in this game. I know what weapons work for me. I know what weapons don't. I know a weapon when it's good, when it's too good, and sometimes when it's too good. And it takes all of one match with that weapon to realize that. Not in a private lobby, simply just bumping around inside of one of Crucible's playlists. Watching a Lord of Wolves kill at 20 meters is very obvious. Common sense would tell you that that's broken. Watching it kill at 20 meters though, after getting a kill with the weapon and proccing Release the Wolves, makes me say, you know what? Maybe it's still broken. Maybe it's still too good, but at least we're not just handing them the biscuit. They gotta at least get it first before getting the biggest benefit out of the weapon. Thorn 2-tap back in Destiny 1 was really disgusting. Bungie's way of handling Thorn now is requiring you to get a kill and proccing Soul Devour, which is genius. It doesn't necessarily drop the TTK value of the weapon because you have to rely on the damage over time to get you the 2-tap, but it still gives the person using Thorn the ability to potentially 2-tap. Honestly, I think Thorn is one of the best examples of a weapon that was balanced correctly from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2. I've seen a few Reddit posts. I've seen people actually reach out to players, to YouTubers and streamers, asking for them to voice their opinions on balance inside of the game. My only suggestion when it comes to balance is to not wait until an overwhelming statistic implodes on your Reddit feed or your Twitter feed, showcasing how out of hand a weapon has become, but instead take a practical, common sense approach by using the weapon and deciding whether or not that weapon is too good or not. So guys, that is my thoughts on balance in Destiny 2. This is a topic that will continue to resurface, especially with something like skill-based matchmaking being in the game. I just wanted today's video to just outline the realities. Balance will probably never happen to the fullest. And then on top of that, you gotta ask yourself, do you want balance, man? I mean, do you really want balance? There's always gonna be something people complain about. There's always gonna be a weapon that people feel like is too good. And there's always gonna be a chaotic nature to a game like Destiny. I'm okay with the chaos, and I'm okay with things being too good. But like I said, the too good stuff, the mountaintops, the recluses, the Lord of Wolves, the One-Eye Mask, I know why Bungie did what they did and made those weapons what they are. Grenade launchers needed a champion, so they made Mountaintop. SMGs had completely fallen out of the meta, so they made Recluse. Titan usage was dropping to an all-time low in year 1, so they made One-Eye Mask. All of this while simultaneously trying to balance two very different platforms, console and PC, as well as keeping a community happy with various different skill sets. There's a reason why Bungie takes as long as they take to push out a Sandbox change, which is why I'm completely okay with Bungie taking the initiative and making changes without the need of statistical backing. So guys, those are my complete thoughts on it. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.